Happy Monday morning, ladies and gentlemen. How was your weekend? Did you have a nice time? It was a beautiful weekend. It was sunny. It's sunny this morning. A few clouds, but not many. And we are finally getting ready to do chapter 17, which says Poppy's Return. When Poppy discovered that Junior and Mephitis were not where she had left them, she was annoyed. First she thought they had simply wandered off. Only after considerable time had passed without their showing up did it occur to her that they might have gone ahead. The thought of those rude youngsters bursting upon the family without her being there to soften the way caused her considerable unease. Then the notion came that they might have decided to return to the snag. Yes, it was what she had wanted, but Junior and Mephitis were much too young to be traveling alone through the forest. Regardless, they should have told her what they were doing. How inconsiderate, she cried. Why must Junior make so many problems? The next moment, her frustration turned to anger. Bother on him, she said. I can't wait about. If he's gone off, that's his problem. I hope he did go back to the snag. With that, Poppy jumped into the creek and gave herself another scrubbing to get rid of any skunk stink remains. She reached the other side by wading and swimming, and then scrambling up the high bank where she could see for some distance. Oh my, she exclaimed as she gazed upon the view that lay before her. There, in one great prospect, were the old orchard, gray house, tar road, and beyond, Bannock Hill. The setting of her entire early life, all there. With this sight came an unexpected rush of memories and emotions that had her giggling one moment. They had played hide and seek endlessly right there. Cousin Basil had been caught in some brambles there, while the next moment she was ready to burst into tears, for at the top of Bannock Hill was where her beloved first ragweed had died. Her strong emotions took her completely by surprise. Oh, why, she had heard herself thinking, did I stay away for so long? The answer came just as quickly. Because I'm not what I was, and they won't understand. Poppy had to sit down. Think good thoughts, she urged herself. It will be fun to visit. It will. Well, she added ruefully, mostly. Only after some moments had passed did Poppy notice that sitting off to one side of Gray House was a yellow bulldozer, huge and powerful. It was not moving, but just sitting there. Lily had told her that everyone was sure it was poised to crush the house. How horrifying. No wonder a red flag was flying from the roof. Where would the family go? Thank goodness I have a safe place to live, Poppy reminded herself. Poppy knew she had lingered long enough. She had to get on. Taking a deep breath, she told herself to be brave, even as she discovered what in the world she needed to do to be brave about. It was her own old home, her own family she was visiting. Really, she stood up. Why are my legs feeling so weak? And started for Gray House, her heart pounding hard. Oh, you silly mouse, Poppy cried out loud. Stop this foolishness. It shouldn't take courage to visit your own family. Yet the thought was, oh, but it does. Even so, Poppy plunged in among the high grasses, which meant she momentarily lost sight of the house. Knowing the way as if she had last walked it a day ago, she pressed on. What Poppy did not know was that her path took her just a few feet from where Junior and Mephitis lay napping. She saw no sign of them. Poppy had almost reached the end of the orchard when she came upon a cluster of ladies' slippers. The flowers, delicate purple, pink, white, and blue, stirred gently in the calm afternoon sun, shedding the sweetness of perfumes. Poppy gazed at them. She always had loved them so. How much she would have liked to share them with her family, but they could never grow up in the dim light of the forest. Suddenly, Poppy felt a powerful longing for Rye, so steady, so kind, and so loving. And the children, how much she missed them. The next moment, Poppy was hardly aware of what she was doing. She pulled a flower down, plucked it, and began to dance. Her steps were slow, and because she was out of practice, not particularly graceful. But her old desire to dance to the vibrant music that filled her heart was as strong as ever. As she did, her mind flooded with the thought, oh, I do love being alive. She stopped abruptly. Poppy, she scolded herself, you're being ridiculous. You are the mother of 11. With a self-depreciating snort, she tossed the flower away, only to regret her gesture. She ran to retrieve it and nuzzled the supple petals by way of asking forgiveness. Then she laid the flower down with humble reverence. Silly mouse, she said out loud, giggled, and gave herself a hug. Now she felt ready to face whatever lay ahead. Grey House loomed before her. She stopped and considered it. It seemed smaller than she remembered and much more dilapidated, truly a wreck. Hello there, came a voice. Poppy started. For a moment she couldn't speak to the mouse who stood before her. May I be of some help? Began the other mouse. He gasped. Good gracious, he cried. It's Poppy. Don't you recognize me? It's Basil. Basil, screamed Poppy, and she threw her paws about her favorite cousin. Then came a torrent of questions and statements, both of them talking simultaneously. How are you? You look so good. I am so happy to see you. It's been so long. You don't know how often I've thought of you. Why have you never visited? Are you happy? No, it's not. I want to know. It's you I want to know about. I am so glad to see you. You've hardly aged at all. Neither have you. You should have sent word. How is your family? Tell me everything you've been doing. What's new? What's old? You must meet my wife. You must meet my husband. You look wonderful. Oh my, it's so exciting to see you. Who said what or when? And what might have been answers or questions or statements? Neither knew. Neither cared, neither bothered to know, and besides, it did not really matter. Not one bit. No, no, not at all. For when they had gone through all of that, they started right in again with the same questions, the same answers, only perhaps a little slower. And perhaps a few new answers were slipped in, though neither cared to explain much about their own lives in their rush to find out everything about the other. That accomplished, or at least partly accomplished, they hugged each other yet again and laughed and cried. At last, Poppy said, Lily came and told me things were not good here. That's why I came. Basil, is it really true? Actually, life is pretty much as it was when you left, said Basil, except Lungwort is quite a bit older, not his old self. We are very crowded, and then there's that. He nodded to the bulldozer. When will it happen? Asked Poppy. No one knows for certain, said Basil. Probably soon. That makes us all jumpy. But we can talk about that later. Let's get to the house. We knew, or at least hoped you were coming. Everybody is dying to see you. Poppy grinned. They hurried towards the house. Now Poppy met first one relation and then another and another. Everywhere she was greeted with excitement and warmth, hugs and caring questions. Hey, Poppy, so glad to see you. Where have you been so long? She heard over and over again. By the time she reached the steps to Grey House, so many well-wishers and greeters surrounded her. It was hard to keep going. In the midst of it all, Poppy, feeling so very happy, could hear herself thinking, why was I ever worried? Then she looked up. There was sweet Cecily. She was standing right next to Lungwort, supporting him. Really? Oh my, the two had aged a good deal. But as always, wait a minute, my eye itches. Her father had his thimble cap on his head. He was looking very stern, and he was saying, There you are, Poppy. What's taken you so long, Mouse? Come along now. There are urgent things to decide. In an instant, it was exactly as it had been before, her stern, pompous father telling her, a rather timid little mouse, what to do. Lungwort spoke as if time had not passed, as if life had not changed. But it has, thought Poppy. As she started forward, it has. Chapter 18, Poppy and Lungwort. The crowd quieted. A clear pathway was opened. Poppy felt her paws squeezed, and Basil's voice came in her ear. You can handle it. Poppy barely had time to nod before climbing the steps. She gave her mother a hug, or at least started to. Sweet Cecilia held her daughter away and wrinkled her nose. Poppy, dear, she said, you're older. It sounded like an accusation. Before sweet Cecilia could speak another word, Poppy heard Lungwort say, Come, come, Poppy, don't dawdle. He grabbed her paw, even as he coughed. You and I have vital things to discuss. Poppy let herself be pulled into the house. Lily was there frowning. Poppy smiled weakly at her, tried to hold back again, but her father led her away. Not even sweet Cecilia was allowed to come along. As Poppy went with Lungwort, she looked about in astonishment. Grey House was not the way she recalled it. It was so much more crowded. Mice were milling about like a parade that had nowhere to go. A beehive had more privacy. There hardly seemed room for living, with yelling the principal mode of communication. Poppy's ears rang with squeak and squeal as mice talked, argued, and chatted. The calm, still world of Dimwood Forest was as distant as the moon. Within moments, Poppy and Lungwort were deep in the old farmer's boot. After the bright sun, the noisy, warm reception by her family, and the chaos of the house, Poppy found the boot gloomy and stifling. Lungwort had set his thimble cap down to one side and eased himself with a slight cough onto the millweed bed. There he lay, panting and wheezing from his exertion. Poppy studied him. He had aged considerably. His face had thinned. His gaze was unsteady, his breath uneven. He's fragile, she thought. Even the ivory thimble lacked its normal polish. All the same, she asked, "How are you, Papa?" Lungwort batted the air with a paw, as if it were an irritant. "Now, Poppy, no need to waste time on chatter about foolish matters. I dislike chit-chat. We're at a momentous point in the history of this illustrious family. One of those moments that have marked the past and will no doubt mark the future with a sense of profound history." "Papa," said Poppy, "do you mean the possible destruction of Grey House?" "Well, yes, there's that, of course. But what I had in mind in particular was your future." "Mine?" cried a startled Poppy. "Don't interrupt, just listen." Lungwort fussed with his whiskers. "Now then, your first order of business will be to rid us of the threat of that machine of destruction, the bulldozer." "Papa," said Poppy, "I don't have any idea how to do that." "Then you had best find one," said her father. "Secondly, you will need to find a solution for the overcrowding here. It does seem bad. What about the place I found near Newhouse?" "Never been there. I like it here. Anyway, I'm told it's to become just as crowded. Besides, it's Grey House that should concern you. It's your ancestral home. So finally, it's about time you assumed your role as the head of this great family, Poppy." "Me? The head?" "Yes, you. You are the one I'm appointing." Poppy stared at her father in astonishment. Perhaps it was because she didn't want to think of what he had said, but the next moment she thought of something else. She had not seen Junior at Grey House. If he was not here, where could he be? Goodness. Chapter 19. Junior's color. Uh-oh. Here we go again. What color do you think this time? In the old orchard, Mephitis woke up from his nap. Even so, he lay quietly beneath the warm, late afternoon sun, enjoying his drowsiness and the sun-stroked warmth of his black fur. Only gradually did he allow himself to recall where he was and what he was doing visiting Junior's family. That caused him to think of his own family. But when he did, his feelings of pleasure faded, replaced by melancholy. He looked about for Junior. When the skunk realized Junior was no longer leaning against him, he became alarmed. Sitting up on his rear legs, he looked about. His best friend was walking towards a bush. "Hey, where are you going?" Mephitis called. "That blackberry bush," said Junior. "I can use the berries to make myself black again. That way, when I tell my mother's family that we're brothers, at least we'll look it." "That's cool," said the skunk, pleased by the idea. Using his tail to balance himself, Junior stood on his rear legs to pluck a large ripe berry. "Come here," he shouted. Mephitis waddled over. "Squeeze the berry down on me," Junior proposed. Mephitis took the blackberry and smashed it between his front paws. When the juice ran down, Junior rubbed it deep into his fur. They repeated this a few times. "How do I look?" Junior finally said, stepping back from the skunk. "Well, freaking weird." "How come?" "Mouse, you're all red." "Red? Like a radish." Junior looked down at himself, back and front. "How come they call them blackberries?" he added. "Red, huh?" "Don't ask me," said Mephitis. "I didn't name the things." "Maybe I should go to the creek and wash off." "Suit yourself," said Mephitis. "But I bet there aren't a lot of red mice in the world. Know what I mean? Really sick." Junior grinned. "Oh, wow. Do I look like I've been dripped in blood?" Mephitis grinned. "Yeah, right." "Nasty," exclaimed Junior. "That'll spin their eyeballs. Skunk, they're really gonna hate us now." "I guess," said Mephitis, not quite so enthusiastic. "Yeah, I'm pumped," said Junior. "Let's go." Side by side, they walked through the orchard. Neither spoke, though occasionally Junior looked down at his fur. Gray House loomed larger and larger. "Mouse," said the skunk, coming to an abrupt halt, "I've been thinking, maybe you should go on first." "Alone?" cried Junior in alarm. "Sure, that way you can see what's going down. I can wait here. Then if everything is okay, you come and get me. Look, your Aunt Lily doesn't even want me to come. Probably true for all the others, too. Check it out. I don't mind waiting." "Hey, homie, we're supposed to be doing this together." "We can, only later." Junior turned from his friend and looked at the house. The silence was prolonged. "Hey, Mephitis, want to know something?" "What?" "I don't want to go either." "You turning chicken?" said Mephitis. I'm a mouse, dude. I thought a mouse has to do what a mouse has to do, said the skunk. Well, I wish my mother had never asked me to come. Yeah, but she did, and you did, and so now you're done, said the skunk. Anyway, your mother will be worried. How come you're so nervous about my mother all the time? It's not all the time. Anyway, I like her. Yo, skunk, said Junior, she's just a mother. Big deal. Let me tell you, nothing special about my mother. He stared at the house. But if I had to go ahead, you're going to stay right here, right? Yeah. Promise? I said I would, didn't I? Okay, said Junior. I'll be back fast as I can. Don't worry about me, said Mephitis. But when Junior didn't move, he said, what's the matter? I'm seriously sorry I came, said Junior. Can't get the page turned. But you have to. It's your family. How come you always talk about my family, said Junior. What about yours? Mephitis shrugged. Mom and Dad got sick. Died. Oh, said Junior, suddenly afraid to look at his friend. Brothers, sisters, just me. I thought you said... Mephitis shrugged again. Ever wish you had parents around again, said Junior. Too late for that, said Mephitis, looking down. Junior felt he should say something more, but was fearful of using the wrong words. Hey, what I was saying about mothers, forget it. Okay, said Junior. For a moment, neither spoke. Just make sure, said Junior. You wait here. Right. Embarrassed to think that he had made a fool of himself, and perhaps a little angry that Mephitis had allowed him to do so, Junior wanted to get away. He started for Gray House. Smell you later, he said. Yeah, said Mephitis, and watched his friend go. The bright red fur, easy to follow in the green grass. Once, twice, Junior turned and looked back. The last time he waved. As soon as Mephitis was sure Junior was not going to look back anymore, he turned in the opposite direction. No point hanging around, said the skunk, except for maybe Junior. Nobody likes me. Not really. Tears stung in his eyes. Mephitis, he told himself, face it. Why would anybody like a skunk? Why don't you do the world a favor and go jump in the river? With that, he put his pointy black nose to the ground and waddled off in the direction of Glitter Creek. Oh my, poor Mephitis is not feeling very good about himself, is he? And Junior's going to face the family all by himself, bright red. And poor Mom's going to be there when he shows up. Well, that's all for today, so we will wait and see what happens tomorrow. Goodbye.